Hello, assalamu alaikum. So today I am going to be talking about a really great video I saw from Ali Abdaal, which is basically about retiring and how he sort of thinks about retiring and the research and stuff that he's done. So we will get into that. So first of all, I want to start off by saying, for those that are new to Simple Muslim Money, this is a podcast slash YouTube show which is all about simple halal investing and personal finance for Muslims. And simple is like the keyword. Just want to put a quick disclaimer out there that, this is not financial advice. It's just my own opinion and it's just for information and entertainment purposes. So let's start off by, talking about retirement. So basically, the video is really good. I'll make sure I'll have a link down below in the description about it. And it's just about, how people sort of retire early and the sort of lessons and stuff we can learn from that. And before we go forward, like your typical retirement is just keep working. You put money away into a pension and then you kind of retire when you're 65, which is what most people think. But however, that seems like the safe path, but that might not necessarily be the safe path, especially if you're not saving properly. Now, for Muslims, that's also another element. We need to make sure we invest in the halal, Sharia kind of investments that are kind of suitable for us. But something that when I first read about, I was quite amazed by was this thing called the FIRE movement. And FIRE is an acronym that stands for Financial Independence Retire Early. Now, when I first heard about it, it just kind of blew my mind. And I'll tell you why. So, the first time I sort of came across it was by someone called Mr. Money Mustache. And he was someone that sort of retired at 30. Now, okay, that might seem like not too bad nowadays, but back then it was like a really big thing. But the most amazing thing about this was that he didn't make his money just from, some crazy business that he did, or, he had a startup that he sold and made millions of pounds from it. No. He had like a regular job. I think it was an IT software developer job, but he was just very careful how he invested that money. But also on top of that, he kept his expenses really low. Invested most of his money. And then by the time he was 30, he was ready to retire and he kind of just retired. Now, that's really good thing to do. Now, one thing that came to me and was one of my first sort of questions was, how do you know how much you need to retire? And that is like a really good question to think about. Now, there's something famous in the financial independence retire early movement that is known as the 4% rule. And it basically means you want to have invested enough money so that 4% of it every year covers all your expenses. Now, just to make this a bit clearer, I've kind of like got this whiteboard and it kind of shows you. So along the middle, we have, if you invest $1 million somehow, so after, I don't know, 10, 20, 30 years, however long it takes, 4% of that is £40,000. So if you can live on £40,000 for the rest of your life, then yeah, you can retire as soon as you have $1 million. Now, $1 million sounds like a lot of money. It is a lot of money. However, it's just to kind of show, what's possible. But also on top of that, you could reduce that. So if you were able to live on £20,000 a year, so that way you only need to save $500,000. Now, this is quite a conservative. 4% is quite conservative. You could potentially spend a bit more. It all kind of depends. But yeah, this kind of just demonstrates what I'm sort of talking about. And one of the questions I had was when I was first kind of in this, okay, so you invest in £500,000, £1 million, pounds or dollars or whatever it is. But, what do you put that money in? What gives you that 4% return? So generally that we're talking about like the stock market, and in particular, when people say the stock market, everyone thinks it's just this one monolithic thing. It's not, the stock market can mean a whole bunch of things. But generally within the FI community, the thing they talk about a lot is index funds, which I've kind of spoken about as well. But for us, we're kind of more specifically thinking about Islamic index funds. And there are some, really good options out there for us. You could also look at things like Wahid Invest as well, which kind of offer certain similar sort of things. And then what happens is when you do have your money in these investments and what have you, it's like dividends and the money just kind of grows because the values of the shares go up. And over the course of the long term, your investments will do really well. So what you do is initially you just constantly just put money in there. You don't take any money out. And then once you hit, once you have 500,000 in there or 1 million in there, that's when you start taking money out, and you don't sort of put any money back in. You could if you wanted to, but theoretically, you're then able to kind of retire. And generally, it's all about having index funds. Usually, as people get older, you kind of move some of that money into ideally Islamic bonds and things like that, which kind of give you a fixed rate of return. So it's not interest, it's kind of like based on profit and things like that. So it's very technical sort of stuff around that. So this kind of blew my mind, and Ali Abdaal sort of kind of spoke about that as well. So this FIRE concept, so financial independence, retire early, is just about it's saving enough money, cutting back your expenses so that you can then retire as early as possible. And there's another really good thing it talks about is fat FIRE. So that's where, so instead of having $1 million, you could potentially invest like $2 million a year. So you then end up having 80,000 a year to spend. So 4% of $2 million is 80,000 a year. And you could just like live off that, which is more than enough for like a lot of people. However, you could also have lean FIRE, which is what I was talking about. So instead of having like $1 million, you could have $500,000, and that would give you sort of $20,000 a year, and that would make you, make it easy for you to retire sooner. So so I'm kind of interchanging between pounds and dollars. But yeah, just to kind of show you this whole sort of FIRE concept is really good. They just talk about, they kind of save as much money as they can generally, and put it into index fund and just kind of leave it in there. It's a very kind of simple way as well of kind of investing as well, that I really like. And it's very interesting. There's loads of kind of information out there. If you're kind of interested in this, I would definitely check out the sort of Reddit forums about it. But a podcast that's really good about that is Choose FI, so Choose Financial Independence. That's really good. Kind of learned a lot of stuff from there. The hosts are really good. It's on YouTube as well. That's a really interesting thing to think about. And then the thing that I really love, and this is something that's been really interesting for me, is like he talks about retirement. So what does retirement mean? Okay, so you retire when you're 30, or you retire when you have $500,000 or $1 million or whatever it is you want in the account. What does retirement actually mean? And then, with retirement, you can still continue to earn money if you want to. But the key thing is you could do that by, trying to earn money with something that you love doing. So potentially, you might love doing podcasts and YouTube shows and things like that, which I kind of really enjoy doing as well. Like Ali Abdaal, for example, likes making YouTube videos and writing and things like that. So he'll probably continue doing that. So even though he's got enough money saved up so that he could retire like now, but he enjoys what he's doing, and, and it also brings an income for him. So that's like a really fantastic way to think about it. So for me, like, if I, and things like that, I mean, that's still way off. I have not got any sponsorships or anything like that at the moment. So, I've still got a long way to go. Still got a lot of stuff to do, but I do really enjoy doing this podcast, and, I'm hoping to get guests and things like that as well. So hopefully, God willing, it kind of goes well. And if you've enjoyed this video / podcast, really appreciate a like or a subscribe. If you are listening to a podcast, please hit that follow button, and I hope to catch you next time. Assalamu alaikum.